What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Sports. Definitely a few hours after the fact of the Eagles and somehow, some way beating the New Orleans Saints. I mean, I have no idea how this team won this game. Well, I do know a few reasons. The defense balled its ass off tonight. The defense was spectacular for most of the game, 100%. Made a lot of plays, forced, the Saints to basically not gain anything, shut down the run game pretty well, basically make Derek Carr non-existent, and they did a very good job for a large portion of this game, and they're the main reason why you won. But the thing that lingers over my head to prevent me from looking at this and saying, oh, you got a gutsy win, you found a way to ground it out, you bounced back basically from last week, that collapse, and let's move forward. One more week until the bye. You play Tampa next week, who just lost to Denver, who is a terrible team, and let's find a way to build off of this. I can't look at that in that type of tone. I just can't think like that because of how this game basically played out on a lot of sides. Offensively, putrid. Absolutely putrid. Jalen Hurts, and it goes to two people in specifically for a lot of this game. It goes to one, Nick Sirianni, because his in-game management, absolutely terrible. Just decision-making after decision-making, going on fourth down, trying to fake a tush-push on fourth down to where you're losing guys on the offensive line. You already lost a couple of guys on the offensive line, Lane Johnson included on that, where he's throwing up on the sideline, having to go into concussion protocol. You're already down a couple of guys on the O-line to begin with, and you're trying to fake a tush-push where it looks like it's, the Saints are sniffing that out entirely. And that's, try to fake that. You fail. You go multiple fourth downs, and this is back-to-back at the end of the first half and your first drive to start the second half. You don't even take the points going into the half to tie it up at 3. You don't do that. The defense is doing everything possible to keep you even remotely involved in this game, and you're just constantly stabbing yourself in the foot. That's my issue. That is my biggest issue. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts in his decision-making. Horrible. Horrible. That interception that he throws into the end zone when he's targeting Devontae Smith, horrible. It just can't happen. Jalen Hurts is throwing an interception basically every game at this point. He threw 2 against Green Bay. He had the one last week at the end of the game, and now he has this one. He just cannot protect the football, and then he fumbles the ball when he's escaping to his right, and someone knocks him down, and he just loses the football. Dude didn't even touch the football whatsoever that knocked him down. He just lost it. So Jalen Hurts, just for some reason, his decision-making and his inability to protect the football, which is just becoming a major issue for basically over a year at this point. It is the continuity of last season, where Jalen was turning the ball over left and right. It's still going on right now. It's still happening. And right now, I don't see an end in sight. Yeah, there were some very good drives late by the offense. Dallas Goedert was huge for you today, even though the big drive that he had at the end of the game was also due to 2 players on New Orleans bumping into each other and basically taking themselves out of the play, which gave Dallas Goedert so much wide open space and downfield to run. And then the Saquon Barkley touchdown was huge. That was fun to witness. But then it goes to, even this is more of probably a Kellen Moore standpoint, to where sometimes Saquon's barely even touching the ball in the first half. It's just when you go on your first play drive in this game, you got a read option. The ball was snapped poorly. Jalen Hurts takes a sack because of it, because he doesn't know if he wants to hand the ball off to Saquon or take it himself. And then in that process, you're already getting sacked. You're basically getting 3 and out already on your first drive. That is just a joke. And then just certain situations. Nick Sirianni, out of all the situations possible, he doesn't go for the field goal at the end of the first half. He doesn't kick the field goal to start the second half when you're in the range, when you're in decent range at least. When does this lunatic decide to kick a field goal? When they're 60 yards away. 60 yards away, half field. What is the thought process there? I'm certain, and I am automatically feeling Nick Sirianni's fucking checked out. Nick Sirianni already knows at this point, at some point, he's going to get fired. And he's just like, fuck it. Fuck it. I'm going uber extreme on everything. I'm going for it on every fourth down, pulling Dan Campbell. If there's a chance to kick a 60-yard field goal, I'm going to kick the 60-yard field goal. None of it makes sense. You go for it on fourth when maybe you should kick a field goal in that situation. Yes, not every fourth down, it's automatic field goal. No, there are decisions when you probably should go for it on fourth down. And I'm more in favor of being aggressive. I was not really in favor of going for it, going on fourth down in the beginning of the Falcons game, just because I think, okay, it's your second drive, it's the first quarter, there's plenty of game left. Take the points. You take the points, you had a good drive, build off of that, and you're up 3-0. At this part in the game, your defense is doing every little tiny thing possible, every tiny deal possible. The defensive front's actually getting pressure on the quarterback. Brandon Graham had a monster game. Jalen Carter had a great game. The defensive front had a fantastic game. The secondary had a great game as well. Quinyon Mitchell had a couple of, even though he probably should have had a pick six, and instead of, trying to catch the ball, he swats the ball away. It's still a fantastic pass breakup, don't get me wrong, but it's just like, man, could you go for the ball at least? And maybe that he's putting himself in that position constantly. Maybe eventually he's going to get that break. Maybe eventually he's going to get that interception that turns into a pick six. I have no idea. It probably will at some point, but it's just like, man, can you just catch the damn ball? Can you? Go after the ball, make a play on it, don't swat it away. That's more of a nitpick than anything. But your defense is doing everything possible on top of all these injuries that the three people going after Devontae Smith, and basically after the play where you see it on the replay, it kind of looks like they're spitting on him, which is gross in itself. I have no idea what the fuck those guys were even thinking there to consider spitting on him. You got three guys basically sandwiching him. His helmet comes off. He doesn't know where he's at. So you're getting injuries left and right. That shouldn't be an excuse, by the way, because you still have talent on this team. You still have a quarterback that you should be capable of finding a way to do things. And Jalen Hurts got away with basically help from Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert, because those two guys were great. They were. And I don't want to take anything away from what Dallas Goedert did, what Saquon Barkley did, what the defense did today, because all of that was fantastic. It definitely was. But the thing that just doesn't escape my mind is just poor decision-making, poor game management from Nick Sirianni, and that is continuing to be an issue. And then when I'm looking at the Jalen Hurts and his decision-making, that is the most annoying thing, I would say, in my fullest opinion. Because every time I see Jalen Hurts in the pocket, he's panicking. He's running to his left. He doesn't know what to do. And then eventually that turns into a sack. Because when you're waiting for so long, when you have so much time and space, the defensive line, the people that are rushing the quarterback, they're eventually going to get to you. And Jalen Hurts taking so much time and space up in the pocket to where it's either someone's, in coverage that's, completely covered off, or Jalen Hurts is not reading the field right to where he sees an open man, and he just refuses to throw the ball away, and then you take a sack, and you lose major yardage there, and you basically just put yourself in a terrible situation. And if you just look at Jalen Hurts, his numbers on the night, he took 4 sacks, he lost 23 yards. Not good enough. If you look at Jalen Hurts' overall night, like passing wise, completions per attempt, yeah, they were solid. He was 29 of 38, 311 yards. He didn't pass one single touchdown. There was a Dallas Goedert wide open touchdown. I'm not sure if that was on the drive where Devontae got popped or anything like that. I think it was on that drive, if I'm not mistaken. But he did have Dallas Goedert wide open for a touchdown on that play. But It just didn't come to fruition. But yeah, like 29 of 38 for 311 yards. Yeah, face value, that's good. But there's just so many things in the game that just don't look right. That don't look, I would say, clean. They don't pass the eye test. They don't pass the sniff test. It's decision making. It's panicking in the pocket. It's everything there. You know what I mean? It's just doesn't make sense. And I thought, Jalen Hurts was better than this, but he's just making me ask questions week after week after week after week. And yes, I'm still a Jalen Hurts believer, 100%, but it's just these kinds of things that you're seeing each game. It's making you question a lot, and a lot of questions, to where, is he ever going to find a way to get out of this, or is this just who he is? Is he a Josh Allen type of quarterback where you have to live with the interceptions, you have to live with the mistakes, but when he goes off, and he takes over the game? Is that the type of quarterback that we have in Jalen Hurts? I have no idea. But Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni are the biggest question marks right now. Obviously, Nick Sirianni is going to be a big question mark because the dude just looks checked out 100%. This dude knows he's getting fired at some point, so I guess he's just going off on his own terms and the way that he wants to do it. It's pretty ugly. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty ugly. It's just, my God. My God. It is so sour taste. That's basically what it is. Like, you can, there's definitely going to be fans out there, and I'm not going to deny the fans on what they want to feel, on how they want to feel after this game. If they want to take the positives away from this game of how the defense played and, shutting down a team that was basically the best offense in football for the first 2 weeks, you held them to 12 points and you made them basically look ineffective. Yeah, you could definitely take that road. I'm not trying to deny that fact whatsoever. It's just, when I watch this, it doesn't make me think of, that this team is really good or what they were trying to sell us in the offseason. Is this team going to win 10 games? Like, if you're thinking of this right now, and if you're looking at this team face value, and now included with all the injuries that this team is dealing with, we don't know what's going to happen with, when AJ's coming back. We don't know what to the extent with Devontae. You don't know the extent of Lane Johnson. Darius Slay left the game as well. You don't know the extent of all this stuff, if these guys are going to be available for next week. And I guess you could also say thank fucking goodness for the bye week being so early, because you're getting so banged up with all these guys. Maybe that is a benefit in disguise, but who knows? Who knows? But when you look at this team right now, do you see them with the way they're playing? Do you see them winning 10-plus games? Because hell, for sure I don't. Because every game is a fucking drag to watch. Plays take too long to develop. You rely on the big play too much. You take too long to get Saquon the ball, to let him do his thing. Defensively, it's death by 1,000 needles at this point. It's bend, don't break. The defense was fantastic today. I'm not taking anything away from them. But for most nights, that's basically just Vic Fangio's style. Is bend, don't break. We don't want to give up the big play. And we'll take the chunk plays and all that stuff, but we don't want to give up the big play. And there's also some things else that bothered me with this game. Seeing what Jalen Carter was doing on the sidelines after the game, basically looked like he was taunting some fans or taunting, other people on the Saints. That was childish. That was a bad look. And on top of him, with what, the news that came out from Jeff McClain last week, and him, missing meetings and all that stuff, and him having, being punished for the first few snaps of the Atlanta game. We got a maturity issue there with Jalen Carter. And this is not me knocking Jalen Carter's talent, because he was fantastic today. When he can turn it on, he could be a difference maker, but we have a maturity issue with a lot of these players. Goes to CJ Gardner-Johnson, and all that maturity stuff and all that, just acting childish, that reflects on your head coach too. Does he have these guys in check? Does he know how to let them keep their cool? It took two people, basically, to stop Jalen Carter, to calm him down on the sidelines. Like, that's how crazy he was going off there. That's just a terrible look. It just is. I'm not even trying to say... Like, did the Eagles, in my opinion, deserve to win this game? No. I don't think any team deserved to win this game. Defensively, yes, you could say the Eagles deserved to win it just because of their defense alone, but it kind of felt like on offense, it just got bailed out by high-end talent. They got bailed out by their players, and yes, sometimes you need to win like that, but it's just it doesn't feel good. Saquon's amazing. Is he going to have those type of runs all season long consistently? Probably not. You could probably count those types of touchdowns maybe once every few games. Maybe if we're special enough, he continues to go off like that. That would be fun, but I'm not guaranteeing it. And with the way Dallas Goedert has been basically not used at all in the game plan for the first 2 weeks, it was fantastic that they used him, but were they forced to use him just because of, all the injuries and all that stuff? That's also a question mark there. So I just don't know right now with this offense. I don't know what to think. It's just that a lot of question marks. That's basically it there. A lot of question marks, and nothing's guaranteed. With what they were preaching basically in the offseason, with how they want this team to compete and all that stuff. Not pretty. Not pretty. I'm not, they're not passing the eye test this early on. They're not giving me belief that they can just somehow miraculously just continue to improve week after week after week after week. I just don't see that from this team. It just doesn't feel like it's optimal. Like this is who they are. They're going to be a struggle to watch basically the entire season. Every game's going to be a drag. Every game's going to be a pain. And that's what it feels like. And I don't know how it's going to continue into these other weeks. Yeah, you do get the benefit of, Dallas being destroyed by Baltimore, and that's always funny to watch Dallas implode. Really can't take any pride off of that with the way my team looks. I really don't care about how Dallas is doing. I don't care about some of these other teams. I care about my team, and I care about how good they're doing. And what I'm seeing right now really just doesn't show me much. It doesn't show me much basically at all. And that's what really, really bothers me at the end of the day with watching this team. Saquon Barkley, like I said, he was great. 17 carries, 147 yards. He had that 65 long, yard touchdown. The touchdown to give him the lead at the end of the game, along with the 2-point conversion. That stuff was great. Like I said, there were some good things on the offensive side for certain periods, but like the entire quality of the product, not fun. Not fun. Bad decision making from Jalen and all that. It's not fun. It is not fun to experience right now. It just is. What else? What else is there? Dallas Goedert, 10 receptions for 170 yards. That was Devontae Smith had a good game before he got taken out of the game. You had to incorporate some Paris Campbell in there. Kenny Gain. Like, there were situations where I think it was a 3rd and long, and you had everyone set up on the outside. Jalen Hurts would have snapped in a quick throw. Kenny Gainwell's not even prepared for the throw. He's not even looking at Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts is already throwing behind him. Like, there's so much preparation that it just doesn't feel like this team is prepared for most things. That's what it looks like, at least. And that's my bother right there as well. Britton Colby had to leave the game as well. There were some targets to Johnny Wilson, which was crazy. Saquon had some targets. Just, and Reed Blankenship, he had the interception to seal off the game. That was fun, at least, so you didn't have to worry about a fucking collapse again, which I was kind of scared about. Not going to lie. Not going to lie, because even though the defense played fantastic, I still don't trust them overall. I just don't. I don't know. It's just like, yeah, Jalen's numbers, face value, if you just look at the stats, yeah, they show a really good game. I mean, they show a solid game. I don't think it doesn't tell a full story, in my opinion. And I do believe some people are going to be like, it was a good game. It was a good game. They found a way. But I think Jalen Hurts was more bad than he was good, in my opinion. And that's where it really stands. They're also very undisciplined. You got 12 men in a huddle. That can't happen. They're taking so many flags. They had 7 penalties overall to just the Saints 3. Not disciplined. Dallas Goedert lining up the wrong way. All this preparation that they keep talking about, this team does not look prepared. Not prepared at all. And that goes back on the head coach. That goes back on Nick Sirianni. So there's a lot of things that are just continuing to happen that are going to reflect back on Nick, to where this man doesn't do anything to begin with. And the things that he should be doing is, preparing this team and making sure their emotions are under check. Dude can't even do that right. Can't even do that right. That's just annoying. That is just completely annoying. It just is. So we do have a couple of voicemails. Here we have 3, actually, on the Anytime Hotline. We do have a couple of text messages as well, I believe, from Zach, if I'm not mistaken. So he also left a call. So let's get to the Zach text messages first. And it's also interesting because now in the background the Phillies are just underway, so I feel like most people are now going to be paying attention to the Phillies. But it is what it is. Had to get this away. I was at my buddy's today, so wasn't really able to come home on time and do a recap like directly after the game. So, something I get to deal with. But hopefully the Phillies will get us a win tonight to finally clinch the division. But let's finally get to the text messages and then the calls here. So we got, like I said, the text messages from Zach. So the first one goes, resilient win, defense stepped up big time. Overall, the D-line was a lot better. Linebackers and DBs had a couple of hiccups, but overall they were good. Nick Sirianni is still way too aggressive. Of course, the field goal he chooses to kick is a damn 60-yarder. Jalen has a turnover problem. No. Today, he looked a lot better in the pocket and was able to break off some big scrambles. Credit to the O-line. Saquon's burst is ridiculous. Great to see him bounce back after last week. Shout out to Dallas Goedert. Stepped up when we needed him most. With our 2 top receivers out, my faith is somewhat restored. I still have a lot of questions, but I feel a hell of a lot better than I did last week. Go Birds. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. But, yeah, let's get to Zach's call, too. See what he has to say. Voice-wise, not text message-wise.
Wow, that's a gritty win right there. And by no means was this a perfect game. Was this even a pleasurable game to watch? But the defense came to play today. I mean, the D-line looked a lot better. The linebacker, Vaughn was getting after it today. Blankenship clinches it with that pick. Defense gets a lot of credit for this one. I mean, they really stepped up. And throughout the whole first half, I mean, they really kept them in the game. But, man, this offense was really concerning for 3 quarters. Nick Sirianni just seems to hate field goals, until they're 60-yarders. I mean, but Saquon Barkley just turning those legs. That one big run he broke, he was fantastic. Dallas Goedert, I mean, talk about a breakout day. I mean, we've been saying they don't use him enough. Well, with Smith and AJ out, you were going to need him. He really stepped up big time today, 170 yards. But just a gritty, huge win for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts did not look great. He was not sharp. Still has a turnover problem. But, what can you say? I'm just happy we got out with the W after last week, man. It just feels good. So, hey, let's get after Tampa Bay next week. Go Birds.
Yeah, I am happy they figured out a way to win the game. It's just the process, the way it looks. It's not appealing to me. It's just not. The way the team is playing, and that doesn't have to do with injuries and all that stuff either. It's just the entire product that I see. It doesn't scream contender. It doesn't scream. It screams like a team that barely squeaks in the playoffs or a team that barely misses the playoffs. That's what it feels like right now to me. Does that change? I have no idea. I just don't think right now, with the way that you're coached, the way that this team is prepared, doesn't look like anything's going to happen, in my opinion. It just doesn't feel right. The feeling, just the eye test, everything involved does not give me a good feeling. Just have to say that. So let's get to another call right here. Not sure who this is from, but let's get to them.
Amadeo Smith. Confusing game, brother. Very confusing game. Very happy what I'm seeing with the defense, right? We've seen good things. I feel like we haven't seen for a while in an Eagles defense. That makes you excited. However, the offense, man, what is happening? It's the same ugly nonsense that we saw last year. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't apply to any knowledge base or understanding of what we expect in football. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Plays are bad. Jalen's bad. We'll see, man.
Yeah. It's basically right to the point there. I do think if we're thinking about the way the offense is at some points, especially with the way that Saquon doesn't get the ball, I do remember reading it up before the season, stuff on Kellen Moore, and say this was a lot of stuff that he did in Dallas. Sometimes he would just completely, not use guys like Zeke Elliott. And sometimes that would go for long stretches until he would eventually use him. So maybe this is just what the Kellen Moore experience is. So it's definitely an interesting thing there. You know what I mean? So next call, last call. Let's get to Sean, see what he has to say.
Hey, I don't know if you're taking calls on this crazy game, but I had to leave it anyway. What a win for the Birds. I said before this game, one thing was for sure. You're going to see if this team had any balls. And at least, especially on defense, they showed that they did. Jalen Carter, you can't act like an idiot at the end of the game like that. You shouldn't have to have your coaches and Big Dom restrain you. This is the NFL. We don't do that kind of shit here. But played his ass off. Josh Sweat made some plays. Jordan Davis made some plays. Brandon Graham made some plays. Everybody except the invisible man, Bryce Huff. But, gutty win at a place that the Eagles never win in. And if you can beat Tampa Bay, I would have taken 3-1 going into the bye week. So, each week is different. Let's savor this one for a couple days, but on to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I agree for the most part. A lot like what you said about Jalen Carter. I was doing this because I watched Alec Boehm just drive in Trey Turner to make it 1-0 Phillies. So I was kind of excited about that. So that was nice to see, at least. But yeah, overall, Jalen Carter I definitely agreed on. But yeah, Bryce Huff is. I feel like I read on Twitter too that wasn't Brandon Graham taking plays away from Bryce Huff, or was he lining up in Bryce Huff's spot? It kind of felt like that, at least. You know what I mean? It kind of does. And it was funny too. It's just like a lot of people were just having this weird feeling going to this game, myself included, that Eagles, they get embarrassed last week, all that stuff. New Orleans, they're dominating both teams they play left and right. Who are the teams they played? I know they played Dallas. They destroyed Dallas on the road. I forget who they played in the first week. I completely forget their first two games besides, I think, the Dallas game. But it just had the weird feeling as Nick Castellanos also gets a hit, so that's nice to see. But it's just like, the NFL's weird. The Eagles were probably going to win this game. Not sure how they were going to win this game, but they were probably going to win. I guess that's the reason there. What happened? I guess. Definitely didn't enjoy what I saw, but it was. So, let's get to the chat here before we end it off, and then I go to edit and watch the Phillies, and you guys get to watch the rest of the Phillies. So, we'll see. Are you watching the Dallas ass kicking? Well, yeah, I know. I also saw your comment there, Zach, about how the game is closer now. It's now 28-18, but I do think at the end of the day, Baltimore gets that job done. What else? That might have been the weirdest. This might be the weirdest week of football. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I can definitely feel that 100%. How about the ass whooping in fantasy mist? What is my fantasy score? I know me and Sir Philly are like neck and neck right now, I think at least. So let's see. Okay, he has 72 points. I got 56, but right now it's projected for me to have 106, and he only has 87 because I still got Josh Allen and Cook for Buffalo to play, and I still have the Chiefs defense. I still have McPherson kicking-wise. So yeah, that's why it's probably projecting me to win. And they're playing Jacksonville, so it could be a good game for Buffalo, hopefully. Hopefully that's the case. But yeah. What else? This has become more of the norm with Jalen with the turnover problems. Yeah, it's becoming the norm, and I'm not a fan of that. Don't know what to expect from the offense. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Fantasy is crazy on how bad I did. That is funny, actually. No, Corey, I was not able to watch the Flyers preseason game. I did see that they won 6-2. I saw Brink got a goal. I think Frost got a goal. They actually scored a power play goal, which was surprising. So nice. I think Michkov got an assist in there. So I'm sure they played good. So that definitely was fun to see. Luchenko was is that a good thing or a bad thing that he was all over the ice? So I'm not sure what you mean by that. It's probably more of a good thing there. But yeah, I definitely don't like that I was able to miss it. But I know they play tomorrow against the Islanders on the road. But I'm not sure. I doubt Michkov's playing. I doubt the same guys that play tonight are playing tomorrow. So who knows? You couldn't bet on me scoring less points. That's funny. That is funny. Need a Phillies win tonight? Yep, definitely. As Bryson Stott looked like he just fouled one off of his foot. Oof, right off the toe. Oof, that's not pretty. But, yeah. Oh, yeah, Luchenko's fast. I definitely do like Luchenko and all that stuff. So, I think that'll do it for tonight, everybody. Let y'all go and watch the Phils and the Mets here on Sunday Night Baseball. Rest of that night, and we'll see how everything continues into it. We will have a Phillies recap, obviously, later on tonight, so depending on what happens. If the Phillies find a way to clinch the East tonight, Zach Wheeler on the bump, maybe they can get some offense for him and he seals the deal. We'll see. We'll see. But thanks, guys, for tuning in right now. I'll see you later on tonight. When it comes to the Phils, don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Does me a great deal of service. Also use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Great deal. Don't pass it up. Thanks, guys, for tuning in right now. I'll see you later on tonight. JT has bases.